Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the A-List Podcast. I'm your co-host, Sherrod Blakely, and I'm joined by the one, the only, Gary Washburn. What's up, G?
What's up?
It's been a long time. A day, 2 days since I saw you?
24 hours.
24 hours.
It's been a good 24 hours, too. It'd be a lot longer, too.
You say that like you wanted to be longer.
Yeah.
Both teams play hard. I got you.
Yeah, exactly.
We were both in Milwaukee for both games 3 and 4 between the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks. Thrilling games. Game 3, the Celtics probably felt they gave that one away. Game 4, they probably snatched one that they seemed for most of the night that they were going to give away. And just, Gary, some of your general thoughts on that game, particularly Game 4 in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give the Celtics, I think what's been established in this series and with the Celtics is they never say die. They come back. I mean, it was 76-65. It looked like the Bucks, another, kind of shaky third quarter from the Celtics. Game 3's third quarter was really bad. Yesterday's was just kind of bad. It was a little bit better, but down 11, and that's that, that thing with a couple of Giannis dunks or a 3, it's 17-18, and suddenly you're buried. But they came back and they fought to get within 7 in the third, and then all of a sudden, the Al Horford show started, and the world watched, and he saved them. Obviously, I think 16 points in the fourth quarter, and Jayson Tatum warmed up. So I thought it was one of the, obviously, we can keep saying, it's the best win of the Udoka era, the best win, but for them, their backs to be against the wall, down 2-1, down 11 points in the third quarter with Giannis getting it going, dunking and doing that. And I thought it was really admirable for them to not only rally, and I think that shows that they can beat this team and that they can come back. They're not scared of the Bucks. Like, that's what I think I saw in the 2 games in Milwaukee. Like, yeah, y'all can get up on us 10 because the Bucks aren't scared of the Celtics, right? And I think there's no love lost between the two teams, but I don't think the Celtics are scared of the Bucks. I think you've got to bury a team. The Bucks have to bury the Celtics. The Celtics have to. It's like cockroaches, like they never die. And to me, the Celtics are one of those type of teams, and that's a great quality to have for a championship team, that you never give up.
Right. And we certainly wouldn't give up on our teammate who's not here. Our special guest today, I guess, is going to be Kwani A. Lunis. Kwani Lupe, where you at, girl? Where you?
In the car.
We got the drive-by Kwani.
Kwani in the car. This is terrible lighting, but this is gonna have to do because
we can see Kwani. Okay. Is that 6'7" Kwani? That is 6'7" Kwani. Yep. Gary, you see that?
Yeah, I see it.
He's annoying.
How about Al Horford?
30.
Playoff career high, 30
Playoff
points.
Al. Not so average Al.
There you see, why you trolling Lou Maloney? Why you doing
I
that?
like Lou. Actually, shout out to Lou. That's my guy.
Who's my dude? Don't troll.
I worked with Lou. He's a stand-up guy, but I just think it's funny to throw him in that area.
That average Al just won't leave him. But Lou's my guy. I love Al. I love Lou. And I love Al. I love the Al that we saw in Game 4. I mean, Al's kind of like one of them old dogs that you just need to just let him be. Because if you kick him, he's not just going to like grumble at you. He's going to try to bite your head off. Yeah. I mean, the look that his response when Giannis dunked on him and Giannis was starting to bark, Al had that was like, oh, I don't know how this is going to look, but we're going to remember what's going to happen after this. And Al just went off. The dunk, the technical foul he got on the dunk, which was well earned.
It was worth it.
I don't mind guys getting technical fouls when they earn them. Like, he smacked the you-know-what out of Giannis after that dunk, and that deserved a technical. And I'm glad he got it, and he earned it, and I'm proud of him for earning that tech. Way to represent the OGs. But I'm just curious, Kwani, I mean, you saw the game, Gary. You were there for the game. What were your impressions of Al and just what he was able to bring to the table, particularly in that critical stretch where it was either do or die for the Celtics? Kwani, what you thinking?
I think from one perspective, there's no secret. I'm friends with his sisters, but I think No, yeah, people just breaking news. But from that perspective, Al, people make fun of him. They say he's old. And I think he's at a point in his career where he just wants to win. And that sounds like a redundant statement for anyone that's been in the league as long as he has. But I think he had, like he said, he didn't know what Giannis said to him, but whatever, the way that he looked at him, it just flipped a switch for him. And I think when you look at the way he's been incorporated back into this team, we've always talked about the leadership and what he brings to the table from that perspective. I think for him to be one of the players to step up shouldn't be a surprise because at any given game, someone's going to have to step up. Everyone's been relying on Tatum. And in this series, he hasn't been the go-to guy. And I think that's okay because they have enough depth on this roster to be able to rely on someone to step up. It's a risk because you don't know that's going to happen without you. You don't know Giannis is going to look at him and turn that switch on for him, but it's needed. And they had the Jaylen Brown game. Everyone's going to have a game, I think, if they're willing to just step up and realize, all right, we're not playing to the intensity that we need. And fortunately, Al was able to do that for them because honestly, in the first half, I was just like, all right, this team's done. I cashed it in, mailed it in. I was like, the series is over. The podcast is going to just start talking about what's happening next season because I didn't see it happening. And of course, it turned around. And now I'm like, all right, I'm going to stand behind what I thought initially that this team, if they're able to just continue to stay in there defensively, I think they can really beat this Bucks team.
So in other words, Kwani switched over to 1-2-3 Cancun on him. That's what she did.
Yeah, I did. I really was like, well, y'all better be booking your flights right now. Let's see. The first half was just embarrassing to watch. And from a basketball standpoint, it was just like, what are y'all doing? You're clearly throwing your season away.
Yeah. But damn, Kwani was down 1 point.
I know, but you know what's crazy about that? Every time I had to keep checking myself.
It's over. They down by a bucket.
But that's a really
48-47.
No, that's a good
Kwani like, hell no. You ain't up by 20.
Entire season.
That's that Michael B. Jordan mentality.
I have high standards. Yes. Okay.
High standards. That's that Michael B. mentality.
But that's a good point. Every time I've looked at games like that, it's only been a 1, 2, 3 point game. And I'm like, something's still off. Like it's still, the performance is not adding up to the actual score.
Gary.
He's not, Gary's not having it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Okay, Kwani.
Well,
they was down by 1 point. I didn't like that. I thought the game was over. Like
I just thought there needs to be more intensity. Like on defense.
Kwani, I agree. Like they didn't play. Like you were looking for them to punch first. They didn't punch first. Right. They had another kind of strange, wacky, mistake-filled first quarter. I think they were down 25-18, so 18 points. And then they kind of filled it up, and Grant was out there looking like, like Grant was making a bunch of mistakes, and just Grant was out there winging it. And Tatum got off to a slow start. Jaylen got into foul trouble. So it did not start promising for the Celtics. I will say, yeah, I do agree with you, Kwani. I just like the way that they kind of held the third quarter, like they held it together. Like they didn't let go of the rope. The dam didn't break, whatever cliche you want to use. The horse didn't leave the barn.
You got a bunch of these cliches.
I got all of them by holding it together. They didn't allow that to happen. Because when you get down 11 to the Bucks and Giannis is dunking, and he made some amazing plays and he was getting to the rim and all that. If you look at the game, everybody talks about the officiating of Game 3. Game 4, there was a point where the Bucks, the Celtics had twice as many foul calls as the Bucks. The Bucks got if you really want to know the game they got the calls, it was Game 4. And the Celtics still hung in there and was able to come back. And I just thought, like, okay, they're down by 7. They're going to have to make a run. And they did, and then Al took over, and then Giannis got tired. And I think that's a key element of this series. Is he fried? I'm not talking about he's going to run out of energy or he's not going to he's going to score 5 points in Game 5. No, he's going to score 35. But the fact is that fourth quarter, his energy, and games are every other day now. There's 2-3 day breaks. he was tired. He's carrying the offense. Drew Holiday wasn't
watching
himself.
them.
Yeah,
So
Drew Holiday wasn't himself. I thought Brooke Lopez had a strong game. I thought they still, I think, struggle with Brooke, but Giannis was doing a lot, and we'll see how that develops in the series. Whether fatigue does take place and does play a factor in these last couple of games.
I think we saw that very, very prominent because, to your point, Gary, he's going to do damage, but is that damage going to be minimized when it matters most in the fourth quarter? And I thought we saw that in Game 4. Giannis was not the same player. He wasn't nearly as not just efficient, but just impactful. I mean, he was not the same dude that was just absolutely killing him.
6 points, 6 points on 3 for 7 shooting in the fourth.
Right. And there were things
Brooke Lopez had 10 points in the fourth quarter. So Lopez, because Lopez just stands near the rim. Right. A lot of times, if 3 seconds were ever called in the NBA, because he seems to be in the lane a lot.
Yeah.
And just kind of parks there, and then you throw the ball up. But yeah, if you look at if you take, Giannis only scoring 6 points, he played 10 and a half minutes of the fourth quarter, because remember, he asked out the game. They gave him a breather, 6 points, and he was a minus 17. So they were able to do some real damage even with him on the floor.
Yeah, and when he's off the floor, the Celtics, I didn't think that they were as aggressive as they needed to be going to the rim, because he wasn't off the floor very long. No. And even though Brooke Lopez is a good interior defender, there's so much real estate between where Brooke Lopez camps and where the three-point line is, that all the Celtics needed to do, and they did this, I thought, a little bit better in the second half than the first, was just beat your man off the dribble, get to around the free throw line, and just raise up. If you're Jaylen Brown and you're being guarded by Drew Holiday, you got him by a good 3-4 inches, and you got a better bounce than he do. So you can shoot over him. Same thing with Jayson Tatum. And I know for years we've been getting on Jayson Tatum about shooting that damn mid-range. Why are you shooting the damn mid-range? That mid-range, he needs to go into his bag and pull it out big time for Game 5, because they're literally giving him that shot. They're daring him to shoot the mid-range, because they know he's programmed now to think, I need to go to the cup, or I need to shoot the three. I need to pretend as if all that real estate that I can own in the middle doesn't exist. And he's got to shake that. I thought he did a better job in the second half of shaking that and really looking to assert himself around the middle of the floor. And he needs to do more of that, because he's not 100%. And that's another thing that it's low-key been an issue that we haven't really talked about, is that wrist.
Right.
That wrist is a problem. I mean, they're doing a good job not talking about it, and I get that. But that wrist, it's been bothering him since February. And he has been able to play through that. He's getting the usual treatments. He's probably getting a little extra treatment. Would not be shocked if he got a shot or two between now and between the end of the season and the playoffs to help alleviate some of that pain. But he has to figure out a way to find easier ways to score. And if you're able to beat your man off the dribble and shoot the mid-range, damn it, JT, do that. Second half, really the whole game. Derrick White, I know we don't really talk a whole lot about him, but he was like low-key real big in Game 4. I'm curious. I mean, Kwani, I'm gonna start with you, Kwani. Just your thoughts on just what Derrick was able to bring to the table and things like that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the confidence aspect. And I can't speak to it. I don't know him obviously on a personal level, but I've noticed that it seems as though the confidence is building. And I think he had a start, actually. Did he start this game? I can't remember. He didn't start game, but there was one game where he had to start. And I think
Game 2.
just having that Game 2, that's what it was. Game 2, he started. And I think there was just like a shift in the confidence. I'm not saying starting should always be the reason why someone automatically starts playing better, but I think having that confidence from your coach is going to spill down into the players. And I think we've started to notice that when the Celtics get on these bigger runs, he starts to build up his confidence as well. So I'm very curious as to how they continue to utilize him and figure out the way that he's able to work into this offense. I know in Game 4, he had 11, 4, and 3. So he's bringing something to the table, and I think they need him. Whether or not fans are high on him just yet, he's a point guard that I think they're going to need to continue to help facilitate the game. He's not trying to be the star. He's not trying to be flashy. And when you have a Jayson Tatum, a Jaylen Brown, a Marcus Smart, even on a team like that, you need someone that's willing to quietly step in and just help facilitate that offense. So, I think he's doing something good for them right now.
G-Money?
Yeah, I mean, I think Derrick is a guy who, he played all, those first 4 or 5 years in San Antonio under the radar. And that was the first time in his career, basically, that his game is being dissected. And I think that he struggled at times. He struggled with his shot. But the one thing he is doing in this series is he's making plays, like he brings the ball up the floor. Like he struggled in game 2 in Marcus's, he struggled from the field. But they don't need him they just need him to hit the simple shots. Like drive up, hit the floater. You don't need to hit 6 threes in a game. If you hit an occasional 3, that's cool. I think they need Derrick White to be like, hey, if the lane's open because they're stuck to Jayson and Jaylen, drive, get the layup, get to the free throw line, hit the floater, hit the short jumper. And he's doing those things. He did those things in Milwaukee. I thought he was very good in game 3. I thought he was good in game 4. And I said, I just think that's who he is. I mean, hey, he was a plus 18 in game 4, 4 for 6 from the field, 3 assists, a block shot, 4 rebounds. He hit a 3, hit both his free throws. That's what you want. That's all you want. I mean, that's Derrick White, because that is exactly what they want from Derrick White. You don't have to be no superstar. You don't have to score 30 like Al did, but just hit open shot, 4 for 6. You got 6 chances to shoot in the series. In the game, make 4 of them. Perfect. And I think that's exactly the stability they need, because the bench guys are giving you good stuff. Like, that's what you need. We can talk about the other guys on the bench who aren't doing so well, Tice and Pritchard, but, they basically 6 players scored in game 4 for the Celtics. And, I mean, if you look at the Bucks bench, Bobby Portis was 2 for 7, 4 points. George Hill was 5 points for 23 minutes. Connaughton, because they keep leaving him open from 3, because I guess they've decided they're going to let him shoot. They got to pick a poison. He was 11 points in 30 minutes, but their bench didn't do much either. But, so it's the key. Is a guy going to come off the bench and have 16 or 18 points and make big plays? The Bucks did that in game 1. They really haven't done it since. I think Wes Matthews has played good defense, but he's not going to come off the bench as a starter, but kind of the complementary guys. Derrick White, I think, is just he's had a strong series so far in terms of the last 2 games. Game 2, he struggled, so I'm not going to say, he was great in game 2. He wasn't, but I think he has just had to do little things, and he's done those little things. That's all you need. I'm looking at his stats here. 8 points 9 points in the series, 3 rebounds, 2.3 assists, a half a steal. He's made 5 of 13 threes. Say that's 38%. Perfect. That's what you want. Now his 2s are struggling. He's shooting less from 2 than from 3. But 4 turnovers to 9 assists. Okay, so play decent ball. Like, he's not obviously. I mean, maybe that's something I'm sure they'll work on him in the summer. Work on his shooting, have him become a better shooter. I think that's the next step for Derrick White. Is like, spend the summer, do another cliche, spend the summer shooting 1,000 shots a day. Because he needs to be a better shooter if he's going to really contribute. But so far, hey, 38%, 5 for 13 from 3 in the series. He could do better from 2, but the last 2 games he's been really good.
He's just trying to be the best version of himself out there, Gary. And remember, it's a make-miss league.
Both teams play hard.
Both teams play hard. Now, the thing that I like about Derrick White is that he's doing something that pretty much very few reserves in this series are doing, and that's make a positive impact. And I'm not just talking about the Celtics. I'm talking about Milwaukee, too, because Bobby Portis, I honestly felt his presence would be more impactful than it's been. He's had 1 or 2 good games, but for the most part, he really hasn't done what I expected. Daniel Tice, unfortunately, has played how I I thought he would. I just don't think this is a good series for him, particularly when they're leaving you wide open and you're missing shots. He was 0 for 5 last game, and I think all 5 shots were open. And I'm sorry, you got to make those shots. And if you can't, you need someone to get in there who can. And unfortunately, with Robert Williams and his knee situation, which we haven't talked about, because there's not a whole lot to talk about other than the fact that he missed game 4. He's supposed to be ready for game 5. We'll see. But, the fact is, you forget that Rob was out because Al was so amazing. But bottom line is the reserves on the Celtics team, someone has to emerge and be an impact player, a difference maker. And it looks so far like Derrick White is taking that challenge to heart and is playing the kind of basketball that can give them a chance to be successful. Because as we've all seen, Tatum has not been as good as Tatum can be. Jaylen Brown has been a bit up and down. Really, the best player for the Celtics in this series has been Al Horford. I don't even think it's like close. And with all due respect to my OGs, your oldest player, 35 years old, he should not be clearly your best player. He could be in the conversation. He could be in that top tier talk of your best player, but he should not be your head and shoulders best player. And that's because a lot of the guys around him just aren't playing up to their level, and including Jayson Tatum, who I know the risk, he's not talking much about it, but I know that risk is a much bigger deal than him and the Celtics are letting on. And you can kind of see in his play. It's almost as if there's stretches where he works out whatever soreness there is and just plays. And then there's usually it seems like he gets better as the game goes on. But against this Bucks team, game 5, they need him or Jaylen to come out and set the tone and put the Bucks on their back, because the Bucks, they're a front-running type of team. They're so much better when they've got a nice, big, comfy lead to work with. But when you put the screws to them and they got to make plays down the stretch and execute, I think the Celtics are as good, if not better, than them in this series thus far. So we'll see what happens in game 5. And speaking of game 5, Gary, what are your expectations for game 5, amigo?
Not amigo.
I'm having Cinco de Mayo flashbacks.
Gary, can I just say I appreciate that you continue to come back to the podcast every week despite our shenanigans.
I know. I'm a trooper.
I've talked to some people on the street and they appreciate you on the pod too. So
that's
shout out to the listeners.
I try my best.
Both teams play hard.
Yeah. The
we
game 5
on this one, okay.
Yeah. Game 5 is going to be another war, I believe. I don't think just because you got one that big Kwani.
Welcome to the hoods.
I got my big hoodie.
I don't think the Celtics got the momentum, quote unquote, but obviously it's been win-loss for the Bucks, loss-win for the Celtics. So game could go either way. I think it's going to be a war. Budenholzer's going to make adjustments. They're going to figure some things out. So I expect them to be very good. The Celtics are going to have to match that. We'll see what happens with Robert Williams. Robert's got to play. I mean, I think we all love Robert, but if it's a pain threshold and it's not going to get any worse, like he's got to be out there and go, Ime, I can give you 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? I can give you 20 minutes. My knee's not right yet. It's still a little sore, but like the whole lack of reliability, like missing a playoff game with knee soreness, to me now, if it's something serious now, I might not know. We're not all in he could be dealing with some serious discomfort. And I get it. He came off knee surgery and there's going to be some good days and bad days with the knee. But to just kind of like not play, and then, Ime told us it's kind of just like a pain threshold. So like Robert has to gut this out and give them, if he's like, listen, Ime, I can't give you 35, but I can give you 16. I can give you 18. Because you want him in the game over Tice. Tice is done, but Tice was doing a little too much. He took like an early shot clock 3. He had another corner 3 he missed. He tried
to block at the rim.
Yeah, he tried to dunk on Brooke Lopez. That didn't go well. Like this ain't the series for Tice. Like, now who knows? He might be able to come off the bench and make a play.
Maybe the next game is this game.
grab a rebound in a game, but this just ain't his series. And so I'd rather, if you're the Celtics, have Robert out there at least just for some stability, some defense. He's blocked 8 shots He's leading the team in block shots in the series, having only played 3 games. He's a rim protector. You saw how much they attacked the rim without him in Game 4. And then you need gives Giannis something to think about. So if I'm Robert Williams, he's got to get out there. You know, if it's something where it's like, listen, his knee's not quite right, he came back too fast. If that's the case, we'll see what happens there. But just kind of like, well, it ain't feeling right today. I'm gonna sit out. Like, this is the playoffs. You know, this is where legacies are built. Like, you got to get out there.
And broken down.
Yeah.
Because you know, as great as, like, you think about a guy like Scottie Pippen, as great a player as he is, one of the lasting images of him sitting on a bench holding his head. He's got a headache. You don't want to be put in that class, definitely. But I think in Game 5, it's going to, to Gary's point, it is going to be a battle. It's going to be a great game. Both teams are showing, I think, a lot of championship mettle. Obviously, the Bucks, because they have won the championship, and the Celtics are doing everything in their power to dethrone them. And it's been a great series thus far. And I know Game 5 will be another great series. And you know, I can't wait. I can't wait for it to get here. Gary, you got anything you want to highlight to people about that you got coming up?
Wow. Well, I don't even know if we did this last week, but I have stuff on the site. Last week I talked to Vin Baker about his battle with alcoholism and his comeback. 11 years sober for the former Celtic and former All-Star. And his is a very inspirational story because this is a guy who lost everything to alcoholism, his career. He was, like I said, he had a chance to maybe be a Hall of Famer. He was a four-time All-Star in a 5-year period, was one of the top centers in the league in the late 90s, and, you know, was just, obviously a guy from Connecticut.
Right. And then played at Hartford, I believe.
Yeah, he played at the University of Hartford. Obviously, first-round pick of the Bucks, then he went to the Sonics, and then he came to the Celtics. And the Celtics tenure, he was in the middle of his addiction, and it was not a good stint for Boston. And he, you know, tried to keep on playing, but 11 years sober, he's opening up his own recovery center in Milwaukee, and then he's opening up a second one in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So I talked to him. I also talked to Spencer Haywood, and people are watching Winning Time, documentary. It's not really a documentary. It's kind of a true, half-true, kind of true about the Showtime Lakers. They feature Spencer Haywood, played by Wood Harris from Above the Rim and The Wire, and we all love Wood Harris.
We do.
And
Jerry West is suing HBO.
Yes,
so
Jerry West is suing. Paid in Full. I know my Paid in Full fans love Wood Harris and that.
Yes.
And I talked to him about whether, you know, his feelings on the show, and he actually supported the show. His portrayal, not everybody's portrayal, because most of the players who have been literally from Ron Boone to Kareem have been like, no, that didn't happen. I didn't do that. And it wasn't me. And I know people get kind of, you know, selective memory when they get older, or they don't want to look in the mirror and be like, I was kind of a jerk back then, huh? Like, it's because this show does expose people. But I talked to him about his portrayal on the show. And then thirdly, I'd also did a little blurb on the WNBA, how, you know, like the rosters this is like a roster crunch, 12 teams, and most of the teams, because of salary cap issues, are not keeping 12 players. So Las Vegas literally had the first 13 picks in the draft, pick number 8 and pick number 13, and they waived them both before the season started. So just name an NBA team that would have 2 of the first 13 picks and then would release them before the season started. That would never happen. So just kind of like, what does the WNBA do? Because these competition for roster spots, and, you know, we all know there's some of the problems in the league. There's a lot of good things going on. So that's what I worked on, and got a lot more coming. Hopefully there'll be more to write about with the Celtics, because I think it's a fascinating story.
Yeah.
Okay,
and to your point, the WNBA, they announced that they're expanding, which rightfully so. Like, you have top guards getting cut for, like, Tia Cooper gets cut from the Sparks. Like, it's a hot mess right now, and they really do need to figure it out. I think the fact that viewership went up exponentially over the last year should be already enough to just say, let's invest, let's expand this league.
It's a money thing. I mean, you got to make it profitable.
I agree.
Because they're talking about, well, let's have a G League for the WNBA. Like,
no, just have a
where
regular.
Are they going to play?
They're not there yet. Yeah.
Yeah. How are they going to? Who's going to go to these games? Are people going to actually going to watch? You know, are you going to play in one big central area? Have like a kind of a bubble for the WNBA players who are trying to make it's a lot that can be done, and the league has got to some things to work out. Although it's rising up, it's good to see. But yeah, we'll talk. We can always talk with WNBA.
We have a podcast on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
I love the WNBA. I love them to death. And
my
friend. What's that?
I said, put them in bigger cities. Like I'm the only
like
one.
Boston,
but the Connecticut Sun, bring them to Boston. And I know I tweeted that, and I already had the trolls. Oh, women's, like, you're gonna always get those trolls. No matter what you do, you're gonna have the men that have never dribbled a ball in their life and are still gonna trash on these female athletes that are better than them. But I think if you put them in a market where they can actually succeed, if we're being real, I understand that the money is not there. The revenue is not there yet. But if you have them in bigger markets like Boston, for example, where you can have these high school basketball players drive in, middle school girls can come in, see these players on the court. Maybe that's how you start. You start the fan base with young girls, and then eventually it spills over from NBA fans, true basketball fans that understand how the fundamentals of the game. Like, we just did a WNBA special at my job, and Jonquel Jones was just saying, people want these crazy dunks and they think it has to be flashy, but like, we have the fundamentals. We have good players. She's a reigning league MVP. She knows what she's talking about. So just support the game for being true basketball, and not because you're not seeing a woman dunk. Sorry, might not happen as much as you want.
Yeah, I think what they've tried to do is like with Connecticut is, since there's such a support for UConn women's basketball, there'd be a natural support. I think that has sort of worked. And I think there's cities like Las Vegas where you get a lot of people who just like former athletes who live in Vegas. Oh, I want to go see the Aces. I think there's a real awareness about watching games. I just think they have to be very careful about the cities they move into, because they've already moved to, they was in Charlotte, and I know Sherrod remembered the Detroit Shock and Houston.
Yeah, Houston, yeah.
Like, they've been in a bunch of cities, Orlando, Miami. They've done that before, and, they've left those cities or those teams folded. So you got to make real astute decisions on where you want to relocate, who's going to support women's basketball, what venue. It's not prudent to play in a 17,000 seat arena when you're going to get, like, the Sparks are playing at the Staples Center. Like, really, like, you're not, unless it's the playoffs, you're not going to get 17, 18,000. It's nice to have them play in the NBA arena, but you can have a nice college arena. The Boston team can play up at BU if they want.
Or Boston College,
Or BU. You're right, Gary.
BU.
BU runs the checks.
Or even Harvard or something. Like, you've got to have to me,
a plan.
You can't treat it like the junior NBA. Like, you can't treat it like the talent is there, but you can't have them playing NBA arenas and all that, unless you're going to put the money in and treat them like NBA players. But you're not going to get 17, 18,000. Like, I worked and lived in Seattle, and the Storm is very popular there with a certain population of people that really like the Storm. They get a lot of support because they're Seattle's team. You get cities that really want to hold on, to a team and go, this is ours. So maybe you lose Kansas City or Birmingham, a city that's going to embrace women's basketball, but also, own the team and love the team.
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely critical to recognize the fact that your league, even though they've been around for a while, because all of us were nowhere to be found when the NBA started. They kind of weren't exactly selling out arenas left and right when they were going through their early stages. I mean, they gradually over time built themselves up, and I think there's been this rush to get the WNBA on the same par on all metrics with the NBA, and I think to some extent that's been a detriment to them. Because I just remember going to shot games when they were in Detroit, and there were hardly anyone there, but we had a good old time watching them play, and it was great. It was great action, but it would have been much more of a kind of a pro basketball feel if it were a smaller venue. If it were a venue that was more aligned with where that fan base was in that particular moment, so you can just grow from there. But anyway, we can have the WNBA podcast all day long. But we're not going to do that because we got to go. So on that note, thank you for listening to the A-List podcast. I'm Sherrod Blakely with Kwani A. Lunis and Gary Washburn, and we will be back next week, hopefully, talking about the conference finals. We're talking finals. Yes, indeed. All right, people, we are out. See ya.